that incredible Hawaii airliner accident, new rules for U.S. forces in the Persian Gulf, and a mass march by Christians in Washington.
NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. It doesn't seem to make any difference how many times we've seen it today. It is still amazing. An airliner with its fuselage ripped away in midair, and all but one aboard survived. It happened over Hawaii. Tonight, NBC's Don Oliver tells us what it was like aboard the plane. Robert Haggard follows with a report on the likely causes.
It was, the survivors said, 13 minutes of sheer terror. Nearly a third of the Boeing 737 ripped off in mid-flight. Wind-borne debris raging through the open cabin. The plane, Aloha Flight 243, was en route from Hilo on the Big Island of Hawaii to Honolulu. But when the incident occurred, it diverted to Maui.
Well, it sounded like an explosion, but probably more like rapid decompression.
I saw that the plane was disintegrating. I saw that there was absolutely no hope that we were going to land. The pilot did something that was unbelievable in bringing that airplane down. I mean, a plane like that should not fly.
An amateur photographer was at the Maui airport when the plane landed and took these pictures as emergency workers tended to the most seriously injured, who were still strapped in their seats in what had been the first class and forward economy sections of the plane. Those less seriously hurt walked around dazed on the tarmac, comforting each other. 61 of the 95 people on the plane were taken to a Maui hospital, but only 13 required hospitalization. 9 are now said in stable condition, 2 serious and 2 critical. The passengers were fulsome in their praise of the plane's crew. This flight attendant was said to have crawled down the aisle after the accident, comforting those who were injured. Another had continued to help passengers, even though she had been cut by flying debris and was bleeding. A third flight attendant is missing and presumed dead. It is believed she was sucked out of the plane when it blew apart. A search of the ocean is being conducted. The plane's pilot, Captain Robert Schornsteimer, moved among the shaken passengers on the ground as they thanked him for what Aloha Airlines said was an heroic job of bringing the plane down from 24,000 feet and fighting to keep it under control until he landed 13 minutes later. Witnesses on the ground said the landing was unbelievable.
Being ripped apart like that, they did an awesome job.
Aloha Airlines said it had no indication of problems with the plane prior to the flight. Don Oliver, NBC News, Honolulu.
The particular series of 737 involved in last night's accident has, it develops, been the subject of a number of warnings from Boeing and from the Federal Aviation Administration about fuselage cracks and broken rivets in the very area where the huge hole appears on the Aloha Airlines plane. A service bulletin from Boeing shows just where the problem is likely to occur and includes a drawing showing how cracks tend to develop at the rivets. Last fall, the FAA warned airlines failure to detect and repair cracks could lead to rapid decompression. That means a hole could be ripped in the plane and all the air rush out. A structural failure of this sort is just one early lead investigators are checking. But they say they're interested because they say there are no early signs that the gaping hole was caused by a bomb blast. No scorch marks, no signs of explosives. C.O. Chuck Miller, a retired government aviation investigator with years of experience.
What you have here is an obvious structural failure of an airplane that has reached its cruising altitude, at least pretty high, and that's an extremely rare type accident.
But at high altitude is when the plane's interior is pressurized. The fuselage stretches very slightly, but enough to measure. Structural failure is uncommon, but was a factor in 1985 when this Japan Airlines Boeing 747 suffered a ruptured bulkhead in flight and crashed. Boeing spokesman Craig Martin today.
We are sending a structures engineer and accident investigation specialists. 6 NTSB people are going, and as far as we can tell now, 4 from the FAA.
Meantime, investigators marvel at the way the pilots brought the plane down. Dangling electric lines and flammable oxygen hoses were not severed, and the most vital control lines, which control wing and tail setting, were below the hole and so still operative. As to the cause of the accident, the investigation has just begun. There's still much work to be done. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
What will happen to the other 737s in the Aloha Airlines fleet is not clear tonight. Company officials declined to comment on that question.
In Washington today, the Federal Aviation Administration released audio tapes of conversation between the crew of the crippled Aloha Airlines plane and the control tower as the plane approached the Hawaiian island of Maui 2 weeks ago. The 737 made an emergency landing on April 28th after a 20-foot section of its upper cabin tore away. One flight attendant was swept to her death during the incident. The remaining passengers and crew survived. What you're about to hear is the voice of First Officer Mimi Tompkins as she communicated with an air traffic controller during that emergency descent.
Aloha 43, we're docked for landing. We're just to the west of McKenna, just to the east of McKenna, descending out of 13, and we have rapid depressurized, declaring an emergency.
Hello, 243, can you give me your souls on board and your fuel on board?
We, 86 plus 5 crew members.
Okay, and just to verify, you broke up initially. You do need an ambulance, is that correct?
Affirmative.
Roger, how many do you think are injured?
We have no idea. We cannot communicate with our flight attendants.
Okay, we'll have ambulance on the way.
Okay, be advised, we have no nose gear. We are landing without the nose gear.
Okay, any other assistance you need, advise me.
We'll need all the equipment you've got.
Hello, 243, just for information, the gear appears down. The gear appears down. The fire trucks are on the way.
First Officer Tompkins and Captain Robert Schornstheimer were in Washington today to receive praise from their fellow pilots. The Airline Pilots Association gave them the Superior Airmanship Award. In accepting the award, Captain Schornstheimer gave credit to the cabin crew, and he praised the passengers for staying calm during the crisis.
Experts said that it was 50-1 against the pilot managing to land this Boeing 737 after the roof blew off on approach to Hawaii in 1988. The stewardess was sucked out, but luckily all the passengers were wearing seat belts at the time of the structural failure in preparation for landing, and despite casualties, none lost their lives. Once again, it was the skill of the pilot that prevented a terrifying ordeal from becoming a catastrophe, and survivors were quick to thank him.
Aloha Flight 243 was an old plane that was flown one too many times. Suffering from metal fatigue, Aloha 243 finally gave way, exploding in mid-air. A huge section of the roof ripped off the jet. Thinking he was about to crash, passenger Bob Nichols quickly scrawled this goodbye note to his family on an in-flight magazine.
Overhead blown out, rows 1 through 9. Many missing pieces. Can see sky and clouds. Aircraft turbulent, going down fast. Appears cockpit may be gone. No word from pilots. Don't know when hit. Ground going in. I love you, Jan. I love Jenny, Shane, Robert. No time left. Love, Dad.
Amazingly, Bob Nichols and 88 other passengers survived that heart-stopping tragedy.